Hi everyone, this is Bobby from bn-games.com, and we're here doing another hardware review for the SupaBoy. This is a portable Super Nintendo player and Super Famicom player. I know as a child, if I had known something like this would have been in existence at the time when the Super Nintendo was still popular, I probably would have killed someone for one of these. To start off, I'm going to show you the unit itself. This is the unit. You have D-pad, all your face buttons, shoulder buttons, LCD in the middle, 2 controller ports so you can play first and second player, and also through TV. We'll get into that later. Start and select buttons here on the left, and the reset button. At the top you have the power on and off switch, AV out, which I'll explain a little bit more later, and where you plug in your DC adapter. At the bottom you have headphone jack, volume knob, and an LED light which will indicate when the unit's being charged and completely charged. At the top you have the dust lid where you put the games in, and on the back is where the battery goes. So the first thing we need to talk about is the battery. This is a BP-4L Nokia battery. It is 1500 mAh, and this battery right here, after doing a little research, can be replaced for about $7. So it makes it fairly affordable if this battery goes bad. And the battery here goes in the back of the unit. Just pop it in, comes in, goes in there very smooth. Now, one of the first issues I have, and this is, kind of think of it in retrospect, is not so much of an issue, is initially it comes with a little screw, as you can see here. So you need a screwdriver to unscrew it. Really tiny one, like this. And essentially what you can do is just snap it in place and you can screw it in. You don't necessarily need the screw, but assuming you screw it in and then you have another battery or something, there's an issue, if you don't have one of these handy, you can't get the battery out to replace it. So after the battery's in there, I'll show you the phone, or basically it's a phone charger, as you can see here. This is what it comes with. And that is the end. And as I explained, this goes in the top of the unit for charging. Okay, very good. So this can be used as a Super Nintendo replacement. I don't recommend it. I mean, if you have a Super Nintendo, it's probably best for that, but with the 2 controller inputs, you can use this essentially with this, the cables it comes with. So it's RCA 3 plug, as you can see here, and it has this little end that goes on the top right here. And essentially you can play this out to your TV, put controllers 1 and 2 on the top here, and this is a replacement Super Nintendo. It's adequate, but personally, if you have a Super Nintendo, this is really not the replacement for you. Buy a Super Nintendo, is probably cheaper. Now, if you plan on playing this as it was intended, as a portable unit, that's what you want it for. I should also mention it comes with this really nice carrying bag with SupaBoy at the bottom. And this will play Super Nintendo games and Super Famicom games. So I have a selection of games here, both you've seen on the Classic Capture series. Mega Man X, my favorite Super Nintendo game, and in my top 5 of all time. And this is Gundam Wing Endless Duel, which is a Super Famicom game, also on the Classic Capture series. And we'll do Mega Man X first. Very simple. Oh, I should also mention this has a locking mechanism, although I'll mention mine came broken, so I haven't really seen any need for it. It's supposed to lock the cartridges into place so it doesn't move, but so far, as you can see there, it's been pretty tight, and this is what it looks like when you have a Super Nintendo game, and you just plug it in there, turn it on, boom. And I know that there's a little bit of glare. Now, one thing that some people have mentioned, this is a later model, is some of the speakers have had a weird issue. Older SupaBoys have an issue with the speakers sometimes having a tinny and like an electrical noise that gets really annoying and can cause headache after some time. I have not encountered that with this unit. This unit has actually been pretty good. I've taken it with me on some travel, and it's done everything I've asked of it. If I had any criticisms of the unit itself, it would be that the D-pad is kind of stiff, but it is better than, well, if you've ever bought any third-party market Super Nintendo controllers, you know how crappy they are. I will say this actually plays really well. And this is me playing Mega Man X intro level. I'm not going to get too deep in here, and I'm kind of holding it to the camera so you can see it. Screen is actually really bright. All the colors come in very well. I haven't really had any issues with any games so far. It's pretty much played everything that I've stuck into it, and it actually being that it's a new pin connector, you know, you won't be blowing on carts that much unless they're really dirty. At that point, then you need to clean the cart. But it's been pretty reliable in that aspect. It's projected for about 3 hours of battery. I played it for about 3 hours and it kept going for a little bit. So new battery that comes with is going to last about 3 hours of solid play. You know, this is great. You know, if you have the games with you and want to do that. So that's Mega Man X. Works really well. I should also mention that the FX games like Stunt Race FX, Star Fox FX, all those games run fine. There doesn't seem to be an issue. Now, putting the Super Famicom game in, and as you can see, there's nothing special you have to do. It goes right inside. Now, if you don't know this, Super Famicom is the Japanese Super Nintendo. And this game right here in particular did not come out here in the States, even though the anime did, and that's why I'm showing this one kind of in particular here. So we turn it back on, blue screen go real quick. Now as you can see, there you are. We'll skip the little intro there. And as you can see, it does the job. Now the screen is, you know, it's kind of small, but you're going to be holding it closer to your face, and it's vibrant enough that it works well even in low sunlight. I didn't find any issues here. I still have the screen protector on. That's what some of these little markings are. If they come out on the video, I'm not sure. But everything about this has been great. I mean, I haven't had any issues, and it's been a reliable unit, and some of the reviews have been a little harsh about its design. Okay, so that is Super Famicom game and Super Nintendo game, both tested on the SupaBoy, as you can see here. Now, kind of some comments on here. So, the unit itself is great. It's kind of thick, so this is not going to fit in your pocket unless you wear huge jeans or cargo pants. The other thing to mention is, well, let's be honest. Super Nintendo games and Super Famicom games, you know, they're not in your stores right now. You know, being that this is 2012, and you get some rare ones that you have. So let's take, for example, Earthbound. Earthbound is $100 easy, if not more. And do you really want to take Earthbound with you with one of these on the go?
Yes. I'm rich, bitch.
Other than people like Marco with disposable income, do you really want to take your rarest games? Now, and let's keep in mind, if you live in a part of the country where you don't have classic game shops, like here in Southern California, if they're not that, you know, that available, and you want to have to pay eBay prices, you know, you're going to run into that issue. Do you want to take your rare games that are hard to get that you really don't want to have to buy again? Mega Man X, for example, here averages $15 to $20, and this Gundam game right here averages about $30 to $40, depending. I would not take this with me unless I absolutely knew that this thing was going to be in my sight at all times. That might be a little bit of paranoia, but I think it's something to mention if you have a game that you really like and don't want to have to spend for again, or a game that is super rare. So that's something you have to consider, you know, besides the fact that the bulk, besides the fact that, you know, it's rather big with the, you know, the cartridge in there. Cartridges are not all that small, and, you know, you'll have a backpack full of them because you want to play different games at all times. I mean, it's a portable unit. It does what it needs to do. I mean, it is what it is, and, you know, it's not going to get any smaller than this based on the fact that this is as compact as I think this can really get and remain functional. It's just, you know, it's one of those things that you have to keep in mind. Other than that, if you want to play it around the house, if you don't have a Super Nintendo, don't want to plug it into your TV, if you're going to a friend's house and it's going to be with you, and those sorts of things, then it's a great thing. It's a great unit. It's not something I mean, I wouldn't want to take this to the airport, for example. You know, that's kind of, that's where you need to think about whether this is going to be a great investment for you or not. Other than that, other than it's, you know, it's functional as a replacement Super Nintendo, which, like I said, I would rather you buy a standard Super Nintendo for your television. It's great. I have very little to complain about. Speakers are a little low. I know some people have had that issue that I mentioned. I have not encountered that, and from what I understand, Hyperkin has been pretty good about replacing those units. So all in all, great unit. I guess the only other issue is the price. The unit itself is $79.99 retail. It's also not the easiest thing to find. Some of your dealers, some of your classic game shops may have them in stock, may or may not. Even here in Southern California, I haven't found too many places that actually carry them in stock. Right now, the proprietary, I would say the seller that's selling them the most is Amazon. You can buy this on Amazon for $79.99, not including shipping, tax, and everything else. And that's how I got this unit. Nothing wrong with that. Amazon, getting it through Amazon would be just fine, but the price itself is kind of pricey. $80 for a portable unit when you can buy PSP for, not too close, not too far off from that, play something more modern. It really comes down to how much you love retro games, and if you want to play them, on the go. And, for what you get, $80, that value choice is really going to be up to you on how much you love this and how much you want to play this on the go or around your house and that sort of thing. I've read comments that people would say, well, why don't you just emulate Super Nintendo games on your PSP? And I don't recommend emulation at all. I think that's wrong. But from a value point decision, if that's something you're going to do, then you're probably not the target market for this. So in the end, that choice is really up to you. But from a price point, it is a bit high. Super Nintendos themselves for your television will run you from $40 to $50 approximately, and they usually come with 1 or 2 games, a couple of controllers. This right here, you just get the unit, which is essentially its own controller, and a charger and a battery, and that's it. You don't get a game. So in the end, you're kind of playing for the ability to play it here on your LCD. Other than that, as a retro game enthusiast and someone who does this all the time, especially for the Classic Capture series, this is a great unit. Wish I could have had this as a child. This would have been if Nintendo had released something like this, it would have sold gangbusters. I guarantee that. But in this day and age, people who are really targeted for this are kind of dinosaurs at this point, and it's definitely a niche market. But if you are interested in buying a portable Super Nintendo, have the $79 laying around, and don't mind it's just a few little minor things, then this is definitely for you. Just do not buy this as a replacement console. I don't recommend it for that. This is Bobby from bn-games.com reviewing the SupaBoy. Can be bought on Amazon.com. That's probably your easiest route for $79.99. And please subscribe. Let us know what you think. I should also want to make a last mention. Both of these games, Mega Man X and Gundam Endless Duel, are both on the Classic Capture series. If you're not familiar with it, please check out our channel, the Classic Capture series. We go through all classic consoles and play the games through our library and collection in a podcast format. So this is definitely our definite bread and butter here. So, like I said, please subscribe and let us know what you think.
Earthbound! You know you want it.